disadvantaged because of a lack of education.
Mm-hmm.
Social services are off their radar. They have a foundation, they're very generous, but the idea that
but that shouldn't surprise you.
successful American corporations are going to somehow impact the marginal population of the United States is really a stretch. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. I must say that. I mean, the top 1% of American people earn 60% of the income of the United States.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
pay
and
90-something
they're
percent,
capitalists.
and they pay most of the
You
tax.
said the business of America is business. That was Henry Ford, quote.
Right, and he was right then, and he was right now.
No, but it isn't. The business of government isn't business. I mean, you've got a much larger constituency than people who are accumulating capital and trying to create new capital.
And that shouldn't, and I don't think it surprises you. That's not your point. But it doesn't surprise me that businesses do what businesses do, is make money and move ahead to make more money. I mean, that's to expect that's a natural thing. That's what you want them to do. You want them to do efficiently and create wealth. You also want them to do it legally, and you want them to do it environmentally responsibly, and you want regulations that helps you determine as many outcomes as you feel you can. But the idea that somehow businesses are not self-serving is silly.
It's pretty naive, yeah.
It's very naive.
Because I think outsourcing, for instance, can be really positive for the economy.
But also, it's naive to criticize them for that, because we know that. Right now, businesses are moving overseas because they view our tax structure as punitive. We have, I think it may be the #1 highest corporate taxes in the country. Japan's just lowered theirs this past summer in Minnesota. We have seen that. But, and then somebody else will say, they've got all these taxes, 20-something thousand pages of tax laws and depreciation and all these allowances that actually move them down. I think that should be cleaned up and the rates should be lower. If we know that profit is what drives companies, then it shouldn't be such a stretch to understand that that means they need lower rates to stay here. But I think also that that's part of the problem with the Republican conversation, is that they're relatively intractable in that perspective. I personally think everybody's taxed too much in this country. Middle class, I don't know what the date is now, but it's like way into the springtime or summer now that you're working to pay off the government. People need to be left with their own money. Government needs to live within its means. Government's job is to create an environment for opportunity and wealth creation, and that includes a good educational system. It includes, I think, a lot of help at a lot of levels, including environmental incentives and things like that. Don't be surprised that people want to make more money, and you're not naive. And that businesses do what they do.
Making money is a good thing.
It's a good thing, and I'm in favor of it.
Because how you use it, you're creating value, and how you use that value is what it's about. So
that's right. That's right. And we've seen a lot of corruption in the system. Wall Street has created billions of dollars for people in their 30s and even 20s, who 40 years ago, 30 years ago, would have been making an average wage. But they gamed the system. We don't need more investment bankers in this world. We don't need more lawyers. We need people that produce things and don't spend all day long trying to flash trade and, but that's a known way to make money today. People flock to it. Obama's right. We need more engineers, more scholars, more mathematicians. Ultimately that's what will save this country, not bundling derivatives and pushing them around from desk to desk and 10 people sitting in a circle passing the same piece of paper. My life is simple. I got up every day, I did something right that people paid for, and I saved a piece of it, and I woke up 30 years later pretty well off. 30 years later. And went through all the sacrifices in between. I don't regret it at all, because I'm running for Congress today, and I could do that, and I'm healthy and all of that. And I live in a country that will allow a simple person to do that. And those are things that I'm happy about. I'm kind of, in many ways, I digress a little bit, but it's interesting to me that I'm involved in this at a time when I think it's most critical to the future, and not because I think I can make a big difference, as you asked. I never would say that. What I would say is that at the margin, everybody makes some difference, and everybody who thinks they can, if that person gets involved, then it multiplies itself. I mean, you know a little bit about Gandhi. So, anything else?
I just think you're dealing with a paradox. If Charlie Rangel gets reelected like Sherry Boulder did because they brought the bacon home, which is gaming the system, if you want to call it that. It isn't necessarily looking for the common good,
Yep.
but it is creating jobs at home, and that's real value. So
Well,
it sounds like
agree.
you'd be satisfied with one term if you can hold to your principles, is what I hear you say.
Oh, I actually think that that's right, but I also think that wouldn't be the outcome. I think that we are at a point of crisis in this country which allows people of principle, and I don't mean ideologues, I mean honest people, to get involved and make choices. Look at Chris Christie in New Jersey. He couldn't have been elected 4 or 5 years ago. But now New Jersey's in such terrible straits that he's actually a governor, and people like him, and they talk about him, and they may come up here and endorse. If anybody's interested in meeting Rudy Giuliani, he's coming to Hotel Utica next Thursday. If you're there, just swing in. He'll be there at 3:30 in the afternoon. It's just open. He's coming up here to endorse me, and but I agree with you. I mean, what's the point? What's the point in being alive and then being dead? It's silly, but and not leaving a legacy. What have you done? What have you done? You've become part of something nobody's going to remember other than the general idea that it was bad. So what you need to do, what one needs to do, is you have to play a certain amount of games. I think it's awful. I don't mean it for myself necessarily, but I think there is a lot of that, and there are a lot of people in government who are happy on the margins to make a difference. I would like to make a bigger difference, be a bigger voice and a more thoughtful voice, and be prepared to lose. I mean, that's what I said earlier. I think the Democrats need a better candidate. There's nothing wrong with Arcuri as a politician. I mean, he is a pure politician. But if he wants a leader, he's not the guy. If I win this race, I invite any good party, whoever they are, let's have a real conversation. They're foiling my life, trying to find something dirty about it. Is it the case that everybody who goes into politics is judged by their least sin? Apparently. That's what they do. They find a way to destroy you in a hurry rather than debate you over time. Is that what you want? I mean, if you want good people in government, that means they've had some life experience maybe that doesn't really look good in the light of day, but doesn't make them bad people. We all make mistakes. I'm not saying I have. I'm sure I have, but not that I'm ashamed of or anything. It's just that it's kind of disheartening when you find it, rather than talk about issues, because it's relatively hard for Arcuri to do it since he has to talk through both sides of every issue. They would prefer to come after me and say, I'm a member of Cato, and Cato represents all these awful things. Well, it doesn't mean I do, but they'll align me with that, and they'll try to beat me up because of that. Or because I was in business and I may have been sued once, which I've been in business for 30 years, I have a great history. And but everybody has, issues. I've had I've had a great life, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. But you get that feeling that politics today is winning at all prices, that they'll do anything they can to beat you. And there's something wrong with that. I mean, they're not entitled to that job. It's a privilege to go to Congress. And they ought to be able to defend their record and to get reelected, not destroy another person over it. That's what they do.